Okay, so we are continuing our exploration of the levels of audio gear, and I'm using Arthur Salvatore's Evolution of Sonic Priorities, what he thought about it, what is your progress in audio, what is the progression of audio gear, and now we have reached level 3. So at this level, we are leaving the focus on bass and power and convenience. And we just decide we want natural mid-range and low-level information. This area is where the vast majority of musical information resides, and that's the low-level information area. And it's also where analog software, which means vinyl and tape, and tube electronics, so which means vacuum tube amplifiers, excel. So according to Arturo Salvatore, the next step in our audio journey is when you do not care about convenience anymore, so you are willing to sacrifice your remote, and you are willing to sacrifice your built-in Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and all sorts of gizmos that give you tons of things you don't need in your life at all, only if you have a handicap or health problems, but barring that, if you are a human being in control of your faculties and limbs, and you have your health, you have zero, and I say zero reason to go for any convenience, to trade it for quality in the sound. And I would say, like a lot of people who call themselves audiophiles or music lovers, they do not want to grow into this stage. They are fine having a streamer and a DAC and Bluetooth, whatnot, and just start your playlist and then just go on and just have convenience. And I do understand if you go through, you have to move a lot. So you live in an apartment situation and you move from one place to the other, then you are much more limited in your choice of stereo. And that was true for me. For a long time, I just had to move from apartment to apartment, and then you do not have as much space, resources, time, and energy to fully optimize and build your stereo system. And then, of course, you are restrained, and you have to resort to some level of convenience, and you also have to stop at a certain level of sound quality. But this step number 3 is when you are ready to go beyond that. And if you are not, then do not despair. A time will come when you will have a more permanent living situation where you will be able to allow for yourself to have a system that you can dedicate to music, and you do not depend on convenience. And that's when you will see a huge growth. And there's a fallacy. But when people say that, oh, when you have an audio system, even a low-level system will give you 90%, and then you pay 10 times as much, that give you 5% more, and then each time you like double or triple or quadruple the price of your equipment and you go up, you just getting like maybe 1% better sound. I would say this is a total BS. Each of these category jumps is a major jump. It's like a world of difference between them. But depending on what stage you are in your life, you will be able to appreciate it or not. So music and listening to music and connecting music is an extremely subjective experience. Let me tell you again, it's an extremely subjective experience. And the main component of your stereo system is you. And if you are not ready for level 3, even if you hear a level 3 system, it will not have that effect on you that would be its full effect. Or maybe if you hear it, you will just despair because you will just think that, okay, I will never have that sound in my life, or the equipment that is capable to reproduce it, just maybe that was a very expensive system, and then you start despairing again that, oh, I will never have $200,000 and that sound is completely unattainable or whatever. But that's not a situation like that. You can get to level 3 even if you use very little money, but then you need to be much more aware of the technology and how to build your system. And of course, there is no single stereo that can do everything. You really need to go to level 3 in a direction that you want it to be. So if that's your mindset, that you want to listen, for example, to drums, you want to have drums, then you have to go towards a way that will maximize the drum experience for you, which will be quite a different priority compared to if you want to listen to female vocals before falling asleep, that sort of thing. Or if you want it primarily to use it for movies, because yes, using a 2-channel stereo for movies is an absolute fantastic thing. I do that as well, and it does have the potential to offer you much more than a multi-million channel like 100 plus 10 Atmos plus whatever. I have videos that I made about surround sound. Please check it out. Check out that video. That why going for higher channel number is actually taking away from the experience. If you want a 3D space experience and you want to get the most enjoyment out of a movie, I would urge you to go to 2-channel, not surround. Forget those surround speakers. To me, well, just watch my video, and there I tell in detail. I will try to link it in this video if I don't forget. If I forget, then someone who has seen it, just please post it in the comments. So where were we? So here we go. It is not a mysterious coincidence that those audiophiles who end up preferring tube electronics very rarely go back to solid state. It is also at this stage that audiophiles will make a final preference for analog over digital. So what's this about? So here he's saying that this step that I've been talking about, where you have mid-range naturalness and the ability to access low-level information, that comes with vacuum tube gear. And that's a big change, big distinction between tube gear and solid state, is that and it's kind of a very interesting thing, because when you read about specifications and reviews, you get that false impression that solid state gear is able to give you better low-level details because solid state gear measure as quieter. They have a bigger dynamic range compared to their noise floor than tube amps in general, and if you listen to them, you have an impression that there's more quietness or much more clinicalness when you listen to solid state gear compared to tube gear. However, where all of this goes wrong or takes another turn in the road is that solid state gear have this clinical quietness and controlled presentation because they employ error correction, which means high levels of feedback. And feedback removes low level information. So let me tell you again, feedback removes low level information. So your solid state amps and your and also digital sources as well are so quiet, not because it's a feat, it's an achievement that you can hear more the low level detail. It's quite the opposite. It is removing all the low level detail, and that's why you hear quietness, but you do not hear that low level information either. So when you go for vacuum tubes, then you get orders of magnitude more low-level information, but you also get that noise floor that is associated with that low level. And you get the noise floor that was present at the recording venue. You get that extra noise that might have been introduced as tape hiss when it was recorded on a tape. And however, and then some people are really conditioned to be allergic to those background noises. They cannot handle it. They grew up that only studio sound is the one that is acceptable, where the performers are basically performing just for the sake of a recording in basically an anechoic chamber, because that's what recording studios are. They are partial anechoic chambers. And then all that information that you get from the venue, from a concert hall, is removed from studio recordings. It doesn't exist there, and that's what makes that's a big component why studio recordings sound so quiet, and so I would say give you a false impression of perfection, because there's no low-level information, there's no additional reverb, there's nothing to give you a feeling of real space, of real people, real event happening. And that's why the studio engineers go out of their ways to find out processing plugins and all sorts of tweaks and modifications to give an ambience feel to studio recordings. And that's why all of these recordings that are made in this fashion sound so gimmicky. If you have a system with a medium level resolution, let's say we are still at step 1 or 2, by the way, these steps are already considered as best of audio as many reviewers, then you will semi-enjoy these recordings with this really bad 3D spatiality. But when you get on to step number 3, you will easily hear that what sort of processing was done to the sound and how unnatural it is. And of course, if you want to go back to solid state from this stage, you are not going to find this easily in solid state electronics. It takes a heck of an engineer to design solid state gear that can give you low-level information and mid-range naturalness. This usually happens in the orbitally priced price range. The only thing I heard that can do it in a reasonable budget are the Michael Yee power amps, and I really had I think that was my only solid state amp review so far, and I think pretty much one of my very few reviews that I have made and I'm willing to make. But apart from that, if you do not have the choice to go for that, you will be really hard pressed to stay at the solid state level once you get a taste of what low level information is. I'm not saying that there are not any other solid state gear that are capable of that. I suspect that the high-end Yamahas, the AS series, might be able to do this trick, but I never heard them, so I cannot comment anything anymore on that. But a lot of people who have that kind of preference, who love mid-range and low-level information, they seem to have very good experience with the high-level Yamahas. Okay, so now let us jump to level number 4. So finally, some of those left may decide to go to radical and extreme length to maximize the retrieval of low-level information and minimize the system's inherent unnatural qualities. And I would say yes, this would be your last step as an audiophile, is that you go to extreme length to optimize your system. And you would say that, well, we all go to extreme lengths to put our systems together, but I think like buying and selling a dozen amps on Craigslist every month, it's not extreme length to maximize efforts. It's extreme length to go nuts about compulsive behavior of buying and selling and just being really stupid about it, because you're not even getting your amplifier break in. You do not even allow enough time for yourself to get familiar of the gear. My experience has been that no matter what piece of gear, electronics, whatever I have touched in my life, I had to play it for a while, get familiar with it, what it does, how it contributes to the sound, and you have to experience it with a wide range of music, because if you have just one song you test, then really you are optimizing your system to play that one song, and that doesn't mean anything, and that doesn't bode well for your future with audio. What you need to do, what I am doing, I would say you could do this. You don't need to do it if you don't want to. No one is making it compulsory for anyone. But what my recommendation is that you live with it, you observe what it does, and if you notice the weaknesses, then and you know how to fix those weaknesses, then go on about correcting those weaknesses. And I have done that, and really I have to tell you guys, I have not met yet a single piece of audio component that I put into my system and made and tweaked it and tuned it, modified it, and I ended up with something that I really love, and I just don't want to let it go. And let this be my final warning and advice for everyone, is that the solution is not which speaker shall I get, or what amplifier, or which what, blah blah blah, but whatever you have, optimize it to the way you want it. And this was my experience, that regardless of technology, whether it's solid state or tube, whether it's digital or analog, whether it's low efficiency or high efficiency speakers, I can make it work to my taste, so that if I would come to a choice that if I can listen to only this and nothing else, I would be still happy and 100% content. And if you are watching my videos, I am sharing you this information on how to achieve this on your own. And of course, this raises the question that if that's the case, then why am I introducing you to all sorts of different gear? Why am I showing you how to build a 1 watt or less than 1 watt single-ended tube amplifier if you can modify your solid-state amp to live happily ever after with it? And my reason for that is that while you can put in the effort and make everything work, there's a very different amount of effort involved to make two different pieces of technology work. And if you have high efficiency loudspeakers, single-ended triode amplifiers, then the effort required to make it work to prepare you to stratospheric experiences with music is relatively minimal, and I can guide you to that even through a YouTube channel. But if you have a solid state system and low efficiency loudspeakers, then pretty much your road is like 100 times harder. So that's what I'd like to prepare everyone for. So thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye bye.